So the war of words between Henry Cejudo and Sean O'Malley is heating up, and it's heating up to a place that's going almost unhealthy. Because now Cejudo has called Sean O'Malley Ronald Meth Donald. And if you don't know what that means, he's accusing him of being a crystal meth addict, or at the very least, using crystal meth. And I say, wow, that is a big escalation. Oh, what? So O'Malley calls you fat? And so now you got to comment on him being skinny by calling him a meth head? Things are getting serious. Not really. This is not actually serious. This is going to be a funny video, though, but not just funny, because I also want to talk about where Henry Cejudo actually is in his career, talk about where O'Malley is in his career, talk about whether or not this fight's actually going to happen. And specifically, I want to talk about Henry Cejudo's career, like leading up to his retirement, because I have a feeling that people have like a misunderstanding of like where Henry is or was in the event that he does come back, because people have very short memories. So we're going to talk about that. And then obviously we'll talk about O'Malley more, because I already talked about him the other day. Now, if you like the content, subscribe and ring the bell. If you look in this direction, you will see a button that says subscribe. Now, if you're a person who watches my stuff a lot, please go ahead and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. What? And you'll join this thriving group of MMA fans that comment. Look in the comments and find a stupid comment. You will have a hard time doing it. I promise you. The vast majority of people who watch my channel are really highly educated MMA fans. You will find probably the highest level of MMA commentary in a comment section on my channel. And I will take the Pepsi challenge on that. So go ahead and join if you like. Ring the bell. You'll know when I upload. And also, thank you guys for continuing to like the videos when I ask you to. It makes an immense difference. So feel free to like the video again. I have no idea if I'm pointing in the right direction, but it really is helpful. Like when you like the video, it makes a huge difference. Okay, so first of all, how did this start, right? Well, actually, I don't really know how it started. They've been going back and forth all the time, because what is Henry Cejudo excellent at recently? Or, since, we'll get into that in a second. What he's very good at is he's very good at seeing where attention is in the MMA community and then going and injecting himself there, right? Somebody's talking about this, boom, right? Henry Cejudo talks to who? He likes talking to Conor. He likes talking to Sean O'Malley. He likes talking to whoever. Like these guys, like what do these guys all have in common? They all have the shining light of the MMA, community's attention on them. That's why he's talking to them, because that's what he's after. He's after attention, because that is part of your job as an MMA fighter. Now, he retired in 2020, but he didn't really retire. Everybody knows this. Everyone knew he was going to come back. He retired. Matter of fact, let me just look at this real quick. He retired in May of 2020. I started this channel in April of 2020. So when he retired, I was actually less than a month. It was like 3 weeks into my Jesse on Fire career on YouTube. And so I made a ton of videos about this. If you go back to the beginning, like the very, very oldest videos, I made a ton of videos about this. And I used to always make this point where I was like, if you really believe that he's retiring for real, that he's going to stay out, you're out of your mind. This is a negotiation. Okay. It's a negotiation. What he did was he realized he has the belt at 125. He has the belt at 135. He looked at the landscape. He's all, who do they got at 125? Because Figueiredo wasn't on the scene. Moreno wasn't on the scene. There was no one. And he's like, what are they going to do with that division? 135. TJ Dillashaw, who had been the head of the snake, get it? Was going to be out for like a year and a half to 2 years. What are they going to do? Like, what's the UFC going to do if I walk away? They got no one. So I'm going to pretend to retire. They're going to have to pay me more money. The end. Now, before I just purely chastise him about this, because what I used to do is just go, you kind of screwed yourself, because now the UFC is just going to play hardball, and now you don't even have your back end from the pay-per-view, etc. But I found out yesterday that Figueiredo was making like 150 or something, or less than that, like 100 and 100 for his last fight, challenging for the belt, 100, Figueiredo. And he talked about this publicly because now Uriah Faber is his manager, whatever. So without knowing exactly what Triple C's deal was, I'm actually going hands off, because that is crazy. That is crazy. The UFC takes care of some guys, but you literally have to fight for it. It seems like unless you're O'Malley or certain other guys, but anyway, whatever. So he does the fake retirement. It is what it is. But since then, he's tried to stay in the mix and, be relevant, etc. And he's done a pretty good job. Now, Sean O'Malley is the most in the mix guy. I just did an entire video about this, about where O'Malley is doing this. That's why lots of people want to fight him, because they want to take what he's got. They want to take his shine. And if you do get a fight with him, it means the UFC doesn't give a shit about you. That's the thing. If you are able to get a fight against him. What that means is the UFC does not care about your career because all they're using you for is to catapult O'Malley. Now, does that mean that you have no chance of becoming relevant in the UFC? Of course not. Look at Chito Vera. Is Chito Vera relevant now? How did he get on your map? Like, how did he become a relevant person in the UFC in terms of you paying attention? Okay. The second that he kicked O'Malley, got his perennial nerve, O'Malley's legs started hanging off and it became this weird kind of thing. But Chito Vera clearly, objectively beat O'Malley. The fact that he kicked him in a weird, tiny little nerve that's very hard to hit on purpose is irrelevant. He beat him. And now Chito Vera is about to challenge for the belt potentially if he wins another fight. So, if you find yourself in a fight with O'Malley, that doesn't mean that your career's over or anything, which I'm sure Pedro Munoz knew. And anyway, but when it comes to Triple C, he constantly is breaking O'Malley's balls, and he's doing that on purpose to stay right in his face. Okay, so O'Malley, after the fight at 276, apparently Cejudo had been breaking his balls backstage, and O'Malley was like, dude, he's fat. Like, he looks fat. I don't understand what he's doing. Like, why are you doing this? Are we really doing this? You're clearly not in shape. You're clearly not going to fight. I don't understand. Why are we actually doing this? And so they took it to Twitter, and O'Malley tweeted, this is yesterday, September 10th. Is September 10th too soon, fat ass? Or you all talk, Henry? And so Henry was like, that's easy money. I love pay-per-view points. Pay-per-view. P-A-P-E-R view. I assume he probably voice dictated that. And then Cejudo then again later in the day. So that was at immediately after 4:32. So 1 minute later, he goes, LOL, Ronald Meth Donald got his feelings hurt. He doesn't want to die. I'm eligible in October per USADA. Plus, I have to lose some of this Mexican fat. P.S. Make sure the Virgin Boys are in the front row to witness the assassination. I love pay-per-view point. Oh, he did that again. Okay, whatever. I assume he's talking about the Nelk Boys because the Nelk Boys were interviewing O'Malley. So the Virgin Boys are, something tells me that that's not an accurate depiction of the Nelk Boys. I would imagine Nelk Boys, probably not virgins. I'm just going to go out on a limb on that. I'm just going to do it. So, but nonetheless, so that's where we're at. Calls him Ronald Meth Donald. Now, that is the objective counter to, hey, you're fat. It's like, whoa. I'm fat. We live in a society where being fat is bad, being skinny is good. And so if you're skinny and I want to do a comeback, I got to accuse you of doing meth. And thus, you are Ronald Meth Donald now. That's pretty funny, dude. I mean, like, come on. That's like objectively funny. Ronald Meth Donald. Now, do I think that Sean O'Malley's ever done meth? Of course not. Sean O'Malley grew up like a religious kid, like religious kids. That's not true. Some of them go completely nuts and then end up doing all kinds of stuff. I don't think Sean O'Malley is one of those guys given his level of skill in martial arts. Okay. There's not generally a direct correlation between incredible professional athlete at a young age and doing crystal meth. So I'm just going to go out on a limb and say he's probably never done it. But anyway, so that's that. So they're back and forth, we can do it in October, blah, blah, blah. Now, read my mind here. Why is this fight not going to happen? Read my mind. But first, before you read my mind on that, let me go ahead and just take you through Henry Cejudo's last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fights. Okay. So this is needed to put this in perspective because Sean O'Malley is in a place where he has a ton of attention, and he has 0 top 10 wins. Okay. 0 top 10 wins. Now, I'm not saying that he wouldn't win against guys in the top 10. He just hasn't done it yet. And like I said in my last video, the UFC is going to protect this guy at all costs, intelligently. They also, with Triple C, have a very valuable commodity there. Not as valuable as Sean, but very valuable, okay? Now, let's just run through his career real quick, okay? So everybody remember, I don't know if everybody remembers, but if you're a hardcore fan, you remember he got knocked out with a knee to the body from Demetrius Johnson in 2016, just the end of 2016. In April of 2016. And then he fought against Joseph Benavidez and he lost a split decision at the end of 2016, okay? That's the last time he lost. Now, in between the Benavidez fight and the Wilson Reyes fight, he went and completely revamped his striking. And I remember this specifically because I was in Vegas September 9th, 2017. And I remember watching this fight, which was Henry Cejudo was on I think it was just on some random fight night. If I'm not mistaken, I would be incredibly impressed with myself if I get this right. I think Rose Namajunas fought against Paige Van Zandt on the same card. I'm going to look that up right now because I remember watching that in Vegas. Also, if I got that right, I am the memory of a fucking elephant. Nope, that was a different Vegas trip. All right, well, let me either edit that out or just look like an idiot. Anyway, so, but I definitely watched that fight in Vegas, and Cejudo came out with like a karate stance. And during the fight, I called my buddy Christian, who I've talked about on the channel before, huge MMA fan, big, like, you know, a trained guy. And I was like, dude, are you watching this? Is like, are you watching Cejudo? He's like, but he looks like Conor. He had the Conor stance, the old Conor stance, and he was moving so quickly in the first round. And then he ended up knocking Reyes out in the second round. And I was like, bro, if that guy looks like that again, when he fights against Demetrius Johnson again, he's going to win. Like, he's going to beat him. That was like, he looked so good. Then he fought against Sergio Pettis in September 2017. And you guys, December 2017. The current Bellator champion, and he beat him handily. Then he fought against Demetrius Johnson, and he won. Okay, that's the moment that everybody realized, oh, Henry Cejudo is the champion because he beat Demetrius Johnson. Now I know his name. Now, leading up to the Demetrius Johnson and Henry Cejudo fight, I remember this specifically. Chael was doing videos constantly about, damn, that was a while ago. That's crazy, because I watched a lot of Chael back then. So that was August 2018. He's been at it for a long time, man. So I remember watching, Chael talking about how Demetrius Johnson and Henry Cejudo were terrible at building up fights. That both of them were so boring. It was like his eyes were bleeding. He's like, why would I care about this fight? Cejudo says nothing. Demetrius Johnson says nothing. What is this? Now, clearly, Cejudo was watching that, because in between the Demetrius Johnson fight and the TJ Dillashaw fight, he invented Triple C. And then so the first Triple C fight was against TJ Dillashaw. He came out with like the cape, not the cape, that's the wrong robe. He came out with like the king robe. He had the snake. He was slapping it on the ground. And I remember laughing and just being like, this is amazing, dude. Like, this is so manufactured. It's hilarious. And yet this is going to work, right? Because it doesn't matter. All you need is for people to talk. And then he knocked out TJ in 30 seconds. And then he moved up to 35, where people kind of already thought about him as the champion because he had already beat the champion, even though it was at 25. He fights for the vacant belt against Marlon Moraes. He beats Marlon Moraes, TKO in the third round. And then he beats Dominic Cruz, TKO in the second round, where Dominic Cruz accused Keith Peterson of smelling like cigarettes and booze. Not his finest moment. So if you rattle those off, he goes Wilson Reyes, Sergio Pettis, Demetrius Johnson, then up to 35, TJ Dillashaw, Marlon Moraes, Dominic Cruz. Now, at the time in 2020, who was there at 35? Nobody. Like, nobody. He ran through both divisions, okay? And then he did this retirement thing. So people thinking about Triple C and being like, well, he hasn't fought Peter Yan. He hasn't fought, name anyone at the top 5 of 35. He hasn't beat any of these guys. And they think like, oh, he's no big deal. Bro, he's a big deal. And he's nasty. He's super, super nasty. I'm not saying he would beat Peter Yan. I'm not saying, I don't know. I'm not going to go through the top 5 at 35 and be like, well, would he beat this guy? Would he beat that guy? I think Peter Yan is still the guy to beat at 35. So, but it's neither here nor there. He's really good, okay? Now, if Sean O'Malley beats Triple C, what does he gain, right? Remember what the equation that we made in the last video is: whoever fights Sean O'Malley is going to be the person who catapults him the farthest towards the title with the least amount of risk, okay? So how does Henry Cejudo fit into that equation, right? The worst of anyone, right? He poses the highest risk with the lowest payoff because he's not ranked. You think they're going to put Henry Cejudo against O'Malley in his comeback fight? He's unranked. He's not even in the top, he's not even in the rankings. He's retired. And he's also probably in the top 2 most dangerous guys that O'Malley could fight. So again, in our little matrix, highest catapult capability, lowest risk. He is highest risk, lowest capability of catapulting O'Malley's career. There is a none percent chance these guys are going to fight. None. Zero. Well, who knows? They're both big enough stars that maybe they could both press the UFC enough that they make that fight. If I was going to, let's just say it like this. If the UFC was exclusively in charge of this decision and both guys didn't really put pressure on them, there's no way they make that fight. None. For the exact reason that I just laid out. But who knows? If both these guys make enough noise and they put enough pressure on them, who knows? Who knows? But for the record, Triple C has finished all 3 of his fights both fights at 135, plus knocked out the champion from 135 at 125. They should have Triple C fight TJ. I mean, honestly, You want to know who they should have him fight? Should have him fight TJ, dude. I don't know if TJ is already booked for Aljamain or whatever. Triple C should fight TJ at 135. That's what I think. Anyway, that's what I got. So subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. Peace.